I am having a look at the NOBULL Project High Top Trainers, which I picked a pair up of recently to train in and for some of my work up in the SFN Expo recently. I am not a fan of smart shoes. I'm not a fan of pointy toe winkle pickers or whatever the hell they're called. My toes get crushed in them because I've got quite fat, wide feet. I love wearing boots, so I decided that, well, to get a pair of NOBULL trainers. I've been looking at them for a while. I didn't know a huge amount about them other than the fact that they're very pretty. Now, I'm very particular with my shoe because I've got a 12.5 to 13 foot and quite a wide foot at that. So for most people who have issues buying shoes, who have larger feet, they will find one particular brand and they'll stick with it because that makes it far easier. You just, better the devil you know. Now for me, that has always been the Metcons by Nike. They are quite nicely wide and they're quite comfortable. In contrast, lifting shoes by companies like Addidas, they tend to come up far too narrow for me. So I have returned many pairs of the Addidas shoes. Reebok lifters are fine for me, but the most comfortable shoe for all-round training for me has always been either an Asics trainer shoe for tennis trainer, which isn't suitable for most weightlifting, or a Nike Metcon because of the fit. So those of you who enjoy or wear your Metcons, all I can say is these fit almost exactly the same. In terms of the sizing, the width was perfect, and I got on with them very well in terms of length as well. What drew me to these shoes, other than them being pretty, was I destroy shoes when I train in them. They get a lot of battering and beating, and once I find a shoe that fits, I love it to death. Now, these have got what is a super fabric. It's this, it's a registered trademark material. It's supposed to be incredibly durable, and it coats the outside of the shoe, almost feeling kind of like a plasticky layer, which I thought might at first feel slightly tacky, but actually it feels really nice. It feels just like a durable waterproof layer. That is on top of a super flexible foam or super flexible mesh underlayer, which is actually really soft, really comfortable. And that's all that makes the shoe up. It is a one piece, which is sealed along the seam here, and the whole shoe is just one single piece, which looks cool, but also means there's less to snag and less to wear away and tear. So some of my older shoes, my Metcons, my Asics, all have got peeling off of the toe cap, lifting up at the side, all coming apart around the seam areas, which these, hopefully that won't happen. I'm a little concerned about the tongue. The tongue has got a very thin flap of leather holding the lace through, and I tend to really crank the laces tight on these things. But having said that, I've been wearing these for a good couple of weeks. I've trained in them, I've had a good few workouts in them. I've done some really high intensity assault bike work and rowing work in these, box jumps in these, and they have stood up very well to all the flexing, all the bending, and they're not really showing signs of permanent wear and wear through, which is cool. The other thing with these that I was concerned about, they say they're breathable, but they feel very plasticky, right? First time I wore these, I put them on in Scotland, and it was windy as hell, and I walked down the street, and yet the wind just whips through them, straight through the toes. I could feel it between my toes. So these are breathable. They are very, very breathable. You will not get hot feet in these. I wore them pretty much solid for 2 days during the expo. Feet were fine. So another problem with the normal sort of leather boots, which I'm actually wearing right now. So you can see I wear boots a lot. These don't breathe the same, even though they're leather. If I wear these all day, if I'm working, presenting, as you can see, these have been quite well worn to death, your feet get hot in them. These they didn't. Makes them ideal for training. So in terms of overall fit and overall comfort, and the first time I put them on, yeah, I really like them. Getting used to the fact that they are one single piece of material makes it very difficult to pull these on and off. So if you do get a pair of these, you have to make sure you loosen the laces all the way down to the bottom of the shoe in order to get your foot in, because there's not a huge amount of give in this opening here where you put the foot into. So they do take a little bit of prep work, if you like, to get them on properly and to fit them, but once they're on, they're brilliant. In terms of a high top movement like squats, These aren't so high and so hard that they cut into your ankles if you're someone like me with an ass ton of mobility in the ankles, and a load of forward movement of the leg. So again, fine. I've got no complaints about them whatsoever. They look good as new after being hammered for a couple of weeks. Now, the reason why I'm kind of throwing this video together is I could find no information about this as a shoe brand before I bought them, other than a few people saying they liked them and they were tough. Now, again, finding shoes for someone like myself with larger feet, bigger build, heavier lifting is very difficult, because we end up, especially online shopping, buying and returning shoes again and again and again. So hopefully it will help knowing that these, the high tops at least, fit very much like the Metcons in the foot area, which most people have worn, which means they will fit wider than most of the Adidas shoes, and about the same, maybe slightly wider than the Reebok shoes, and in terms of length as well, they fit really well. In terms of squat movements, for the heel's only 4mm, so it's 4mm higher descent. They're not hugely raised heels, so you have a very flat, very firm base for squat, for deadlift. You can even do Olympic lifts and cleans in them, provided you're not overly reliant on the heel for those movements to get the extra mobility. So again, all-round training shoe, that works well too. I wouldn't use them for Olympic lifts because I use a solid wood wedged shoe with a good heel. I would probably kill for a pair of the NOBULL Olympic lifters because they look sick, but maybe not this week. And the regular trainers, I'm actually going to be picking up a pair of them for future use too, which I think I may end up wearing instead of the Metcons in future. But I believe if they've got the same insole as these, I would put a small insole in them because they're very, very firm. You feel the floor through these. After a few rounds of box jumps, anything high impact, there's not very much cushioning in these. So they're solid, they're low to the ground, they're rigid and they're really robust, which means you will feel every single impact that these take. I've heard people say they're great for running. Now, NOBULL make running shoes. I think if you're pounding the pavement, these are probably not going to be the best shoes. Maybe if you're just doing 200-300 meters, maybe if you're doing, broken up 300 meters rounds as part of an AMRAP training cycle or whatever, and you're doing 1200 meters in a session, you'd be all right. But if you were doing any long-term pounding, then yeah, I would possibly suggest a specific running shoe. But in terms of an all-round trainer, yeah, these are pretty awesome. I like them. I think they're worth it. I think they look great. I've been wearing them with smart jeans. I've been wearing them on stage when I'm presenting, and I use them to do workouts too, and they're taking it very nicely. The only other thing I've noticed, I don't do a lot of rope climbs, and when I do, I just use my upper body. I don't use my feet. They're actually designed so that they have a grip on the inner part of the sole for climbing, for straddling, for pushing, and for landing and stuff like that. So if you are CrossFitter, you're going up and down them ropes, then they had that in mind too. I don't necessarily see that as being an important design, but maybe that was make or break for someone competing. I don't know, having that extra edge there. So yeah, all in all, I would buy these again. I did buy them. I like them. I'm not sending them back. And I'm looking at getting some of the other shoes too. So yeah, that's my opinion on the NOBULL trainers. I think I've covered all of the main things that were my concern when I was looking at buying a pair of these that I tried to find information on and couldn't. Which was mainly the fit, how they compared to other shoes, how they were going to stand up for squatting and deadlifting, whether they'd give me a firm and stable base, and whether they would just end up looking trash after they've gone through hundreds and hundreds of flexes. So there's some clips of me lifting in them, which you'll have seen or be seeing, and can watch again. All in all, yeah, I would rate them alongside the Metcons as not quite as comfortable on the inside under the sole, but every other aspect of them, thus far, I actually prefer.
wobbly. So that's got to make the squat so much worse.
Yeah. That makes the squat so much worse. Being Jen's height. So that took almost a minute that time.
Oh wow, so it does get